What's up, Falcons Nation? It's your boy Jew coming at you with another Atlanta Falcons video. As always, Falcons Nation, rise up. In today's video, I would like to give you guys some Atlanta Falcons news, and I also want to recap Sunday's game between our Atlanta Falcons and the Carolina Panthers. But if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you'll know when I've done Atlanta Falcons content. Hit that like button for your boy. I do appreciate each and every one of you guys for continuing to tune into the channel, continuing to share out my content on all the social media platforms. If you would like to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, you can follow me at Jew Talk Sports. If you'd like to donate to my channel, you can donate to my Cash App, which is the $ Jew Talk Sports. But I do really appreciate you guys' continued support. I do want to apologize for not being able to do the post-game show on Sunday. I actually had a death in my family, so I wasn't able to join the post-game show on Sunday night. But I appreciate all of the subscribers and all of the fans that reached out to me. I really appreciate you guys showing your support. But with that being said, let's jump right into the video. So first off, in Atlanta Falcons news, free safety Eric Harris has a torn pectoral muscle. He's out for the remainder of the season. He got injured in Sunday's game between our Atlanta Falcons and the Carolina Panthers. This is a big blow to our Atlanta Falcons defense because Eric Harris is, just like Deron Harmon, Eric Harris is one of those guys who's a veteran leader on this team. He's been one of those guys who was bringing along guys like Richie Grant, helping guys like Jalen Hawkins, and helping these young secondary guys that we have. Like Darren Hall. We have a lot of young guys on this back end of the secondary, whether it's the cornerbacks or safeties. And Eric Harris was one of those guys that was one of the veterans on this team. So I do believe that his presence will be missed out there on the field, and his veteran leadership is going to be missed in the locker room. But I do wish him a speedy recovery. I believe Eric Harris signed a 1-year deal, so I'm not too sure if he'll be a player that comes back next season for our Atlanta Falcons. But he was one of those guys that helped us get a bunch of wins so far this season. He was the guy that was always in the right place at the right time. Even if he didn't come up with the interception, he had some key plays in this during this season where he was in the right place at the right time, did a good job of mentoring these young guys on this defense and on this roster. So I wish Eric Harris a speedy recovery, recovering from that torn pectoral muscle. They said it will require surgery. So I wish him nothing but the best. But that's pretty much all I had for Atlanta Falcons news. Now, I also want to talk about Sunday's game, Sunday's win, where our Falcons defeated the Carolina Panthers in the rematch in Carolina. This was a huge victory for our Atlanta Falcons. We now sit at 6-7 on the season. And this is huge heading into next week's matchup, or this week's matchup. This Sunday, where we will be taking on the San Francisco 49ers in Santa Clara in California. It's going to be a 4 p.m. game this coming week. But this is this Sunday's matchup, or this past Sunday's matchup, between our Falcons and the Panthers was a huge win for us. Both of us came into the game with a record of 5-7, and we really needed this game to stay in the playoff hunt. And we are currently right in the thick of things, right sitting at 6-7. It's about 4 or 5 teams that all have the same record at 6-7. So we really need to run the table and try to win as many games as we can. We can't afford to lose any more games down the stretch. But this was a huge win. And Sunday was like a playoff atmosphere between the Carolina Panthers and the Atlanta Falcons. I want to talk about some of the positives that I saw in the game. Some players that really stood out in this game and made plays. First off, player of the game to me has to go to Michael Walker, linebacker, second-year linebacker for our Atlanta Falcons. He came away with a key interception, a pick six, his first interception and first touchdown of the season. Michael Walker, actually, his wife had their first child over in the same week where he had his first interception, his pick six of Cam Newton, who he's basically stated after the game that Cam Newton and LeBron James are his favorite players, were his favorite players growing up was his favorite athletes. So how cool is it for a guy like Michael Walker to come away with an interception against his childhood idol, which was huge in this game. I always talk about there's 3 or 4 plays in the game that will decide the game, whether you win or lose the game, where the pendulum and the momentum swings in your direction. And at the time when Michael Walker picked off the ball and returned it for a touchdown, the game was tied at 7-7, and the Panthers were moving the football. So that, to me, was the biggest play in the game. It swung momentum in the Atlanta Falcons' direction, and it took the wind out of the Carolina Panthers' sails, and it quieted down that crowd that was going crazy for the Carolina Panthers. After Michael Walker came away with that interception, that pick six, the whole crowd got quiet in that stadium. So Michael Walker definitely, to me, should have been the player of the game. He was definitely my player of the game. A huge play from Michael Walker. Another thing that I love about Michael Walker, the second-year linebacker, is he hasn't been pouting all season. He's been a reserve player. He hasn't seen many snaps, but he stayed prepared. We always talk about next man up. Dean Pease always talks about next man up, him and Arthur Smith. They always talk about you never know when your number is going to be called, but when your number is called, being prepared to take advantage of your opportunities. And Michael Walker did that on Sunday. So I'm really proud of Michael Walker and the way that he played on Sunday. He's played well in back-to-back weeks. If you remember, prior to this game against the Carolina Panthers, he played also against the Jacksonville Jaguars because Deion Jones had a shoulder injury. He played well in that game as well. So he's played well in 2 back-to-back games, 2 back-to-back wins for our Atlanta Falcons. So I definitely think a guy like Michael Walker deserves more snaps. And I definitely think that we're going to start to see Dean Pease mix Michael Walker into the rotation because he's taking advantage of his opportunities. And he really made a huge play on Sunday. So he definitely was my player of the game and one of the bright spots for our Falcons on Sunday. Another bright spot for our Falcons on Sunday was the offensive line. The Atlanta Falcons offensive line did a great job being physical in the trenches. They didn't give up a sack in this game against the Carolina Panthers, which really was the deciding factor in this game. We always talk about whoever wins in the trenches wins the game. And on Sunday, the Falcons won in the trenches, both on the defensive side of the ball and on the offensive side of the ball. So shout outs to all 5 players on the offensive line. Jalen Mayfield at that left guard position is starting to come into his own. But everybody on the offensive line played well. Matt Hennessy played well. Jake Matthews played well. Chris Lindstrom played well. All of those guys up front. Caleb McGarry, shout outs to all 5 of those guys for playing, tough in the trenches, doing a good job of moving that big defensive line of the Carolina Panthers. Defensive line and that front 7 of Carolina is very good. Carolina has a very solid defense, and they did a great job in this game of bullying the defensive line of the Carolina Panthers. And they did a good job in the game of setting the tone. Cordell Patterson, Quadri Olison, and Mike Davis, those guys, that 3-headed monster, ran the ball really well on Sunday. And that was due to the offensive line opening up those holes for those guys and also giving Matt Ryan a chance to throw the ball down the field, giving him time in the pocket. So shout outs to the offensive line on a great performance. I'm seeing those guys slowly but surely gain confidence. That was the 3rd game in a row where we rushed for over 100 yards, which has been years since the Atlanta Falcons was able to run for 100 yards in consecutive games. So shout outs to the offensive line for stepping up in this game and winning in the trenches. Now, my 3rd bright spot in this game was the defensive line. I talked about both sides of the trenches played well, but in this game, a guy like Tyler Davison, he was a clean scratch on Sunday. He didn't play on Sunday, and we've seen the benefits of having big defensive linemen, big defensive tackles, big 3 techniques on the inside. Mike Pennell Jr., Anthony Rush, Grady Jarrett, shout outs to those guys. They really showed out on Sunday, limiting the Carolina Panthers to 91 yards rushing, and that was including Cam Newton. They held them under 100 yards rushing, where in that first matchup, we gave up 200-plus yards rushing. So they did a great job in this game of putting the Carolina in positions where it was 3rd and long, where guys were able to pin their ears back. Another player that I have to shout out is my dog, Dante Fowler Jr. on the edge. He had 3 tackles for loss in this game, and he also came away with a sack in this game. So shout outs to Dante Fowler Jr. on coming away with another sack. That puts him at 4.5 sacks on the season. He's going to continue to wreak havoc off the edge. He did a great job of wreaking havoc off the edge, but I really believe that Dante Fowler was able to get loose on Sunday because of the big guys in the middle. Having those guys like Mike Pennell Jr., Anthony Rush on the inside, those big guys did an excellent job of causing double teams where they had to double team those guys because they were creating so much havoc in the middle of that defense, in the middle of that offensive line that they really couldn't do anything. Carolina couldn't do anything in the running game, and Cam Newton was basically running for his life. Him and PJ Walker was under siege all day, and that has I give the dividends and the benefit of that to those guys up front, those big guys up front. They did a good job of helping Dante Fowler on the edge get one-on-one opportunities, and they did a good job of setting the tone in the run game, not allowing the Panthers to run for 7 and 8 yards a carry like they did in that first matchup. And my last bright spot would be on the offensive side of the ball, and that goes to Russell Gage. Russell Gage has played very well the last couple weeks. He's been that wide receiver that stepped up opposite of Kyle Pitts. He's been that guy who's been the catalyst on key third downs. He's been coming away with big catches for our team. And Russell Gage, definitely on the offensive side of the ball, to me, was the bright spot on the offense. He's kind of been an unsung hero the last couple weeks, but he did a great job in this game of going across the middle, making tough catches, diving catches, circus catches. He did a good job of help moving the chains. He kind of was that Mohamed Sanu of our team on Sunday. Mohamed Sanu was one of those guys that played in the slot when he was here a lot on third downs. And Russell Gage has kind of showed that needs to be his role for this team, is playing in that slot. I think Russell Gage is a guy who can be versatile. You can use him on the outside, but to me, he runs his best routes. To me personally, he's more effective when you use him in the slot, and he's proven that over the last couple of weeks. He's been a guy that's really stepped up for our Atlanta Falcons, stepped up for Matt Ryan. He's gotten open in one-on-one situations. But it was a lot of keys to this game, a lot of bright spots. I mean, Thomas Morstead punting the ball very well for the team the last 2 weeks since he's been a part of the team, giving our defense good field position where they're able to pin their ears back and pin teams within their own 5-yard line. So it's a lot of bright spots in this game. Arthur Smith called a great game. Probably his best play calling all season, but pretty much all of our guys stepped up. Kyle Pitts is another guy who's steadily improving week after week. The rookie, he had a big catch on third down to end the game where they were able to ice the game and kneel the ball, but he came across the formation out of the backfield, made a nice catch and ran upfield and stayed in bounds to keep the clock running. So it was just a lot of this was a total team win, but I love what I'm seeing out of this team. This Falcons team is starting to gain ground on that playoff spot, and they're starting to gain confidence, and they're starting to buy into what the coaches are trying to preach to these guys. So I'm definitely seeing the progressions week in and week out with this team, but I was really impressed on Sunday with this victory. Now we have to head out to California to take on these 49ers this week and try to go 1-0 again and continue to gain ground for that wild card playoff spot. But this was a huge win for our Atlanta Falcons. So shout outs to the total team on a team victory. This was a complete team victory and a complete game. Offense, defense, special teams, and coaching. Everybody played well on Sunday. So shout outs to the Falcons for another big win. We'll see if we can get to 7-7 this coming Sunday when we face those San Francisco 49ers. I'll talk a little bit more about next week's matchup, this coming Sunday's matchup between the 49ers and the Atlanta Falcons tonight. You guys make sure you tune in at 8 p.m. To the Atlanta Falcons, the Heavy Hitter Show on Atlanta Falcons Nation. Also here at Jew Talk Sports, you can watch our show tonight. We will be talking about our keys to victory for this Sunday's game between our Atlanta Falcons and 49ers. So you're definitely going to want to tune into that. If you haven't already hit that subscribe button, please hit that subscribe button. We are currently on the road to 2,000 subscribers here on my channel at Jew Talk Sports. But also go over to Atlanta Falcons Nation as well. We're also on the road to 2,000 subscribers as well at Atlanta Falcons Nation. So definitely go over and hit that like and subscribe button. But with that being said, this been your boy Jew. I'll holler at you guys in the next video. As always, Falcons Nation, rise up. Peace.